Chapter 3. Once there was a princess. As Evie sat at her trusty sewing machine and worked on a gorgeous graduation gown for herself, she felt a flutter of sadness in her chest. When she was a kid growing up all alone in a damp and moldy castle, Evie had wanted nothing more than to have a group of friends to play with, to laugh with, to depend on. But Mal, Jay, and Carlos were more than friends. They were family. Even though their parents had been just as successful at raising children as they had been in executing their evil schemes, read, total failures. The four of them had always been there for each other, but now high school was ending and graduation would be here before they knew it. It felt like they were all going their separate ways. Mal had told Evie about her official tour the other day. She would soon be traveling all over Oridon to learn more about the various kingdoms and their people. Jay was always off training with his roar team, and when Carlos wasn't studying, he spent most of his time with Jane. Evie missed her friends. She felt a tear come into her eye and almost pricked her finger on the needle. She sighed and put the gown away. It was going to be a deep sapphire blue to complement her hair, with a red ruby heart in the middle. Usually the joy of dreaming up and creating a beautiful dress to wear for a fancy event filled her spirit. But today she just felt melancholic. "What's wrong? Are you crying?" asked Doug, looking up from Mal's desk, where he was practicing his trumpet. She smiled sweetly at him and brushed away her tears. "No, not really. I was thinking about everything is happening so fast. Didn't I just arrive at Oridon Prep? Now we're graduating." "Time certainly flies," he said. "Even my hair is longer." She chuckled. Doug had been growing out his hair so that it was shaggier than usual. "It really is. Do you not like it?" he asked worriedly. "I love it," said Evie, clasping her hands. "You look very dashing." But, Doug asked, settling down his trumpet. "But things are ending," said Evie. She hung up her graduation gown and admired its sweetheart neckline and puffed sleeves. Just a few more flourishes on the sash and the dress would be done. "I don't even know where I'm going to live when I graduate. I just realized I don't have a home here. Where am I going to go?" She couldn't return to the Isle of the Lost, of course, but after she left her room at the school dorms, there wasn't anywhere else she could go. Doug shook his head. "Oridon is your home." "I know," said Evie, "but I'm not like the other kids. I'm not from here." "We'll think of something," said Doug, a serious look on his face. Evie nodded. "I would love to have a place of my own, but who knows what next year will bring." "Hopefully not Uma," said Doug. "Roger that," said Evie, shuddering. "But I am hoping next year brings more villain kids to Oridon. You know, to study, like the four of us." Doug smiled. "Isn't Ben doing that?" "Sort of," said Evie. "He definitely wants to recruit more kids from the Isle to apply to Oridon Prep, except... Evie smoothed the fabric on her gown. "Well, we're just not getting the response we thought we would." "How many people have applied from the Isle of the Lost so far?" asked Doug. Evie turned back to him. "How many?" "Yeah, 1." Doug's mouth quirked in amusement. "1?" She nodded. "Just Dizzy, who was invited to apply and actually still has to be selected by the admissions committee before registration can be confirmed." Evie was sure Dizzy would be accepted, but of course nothing was guaranteed until Fairy Godmother sent the enrollment letter. Doug crossed his arms against his chest. "Just Dizzy? Really?" Evie let out a rueful chuckle. "I know. Isn't that sad? There's got to be a way to get more kids from the Isle to apply." "How many spots are open?" asked Doug. "Good question. I'm not sure, but I think Oridon Prep would take more than 1, since they want more students from the Isle to apply." "Then what you need," said Doug, putting his trumpet away in its case, "is a recruitment strategy." Evie looked at him thoughtfully. "Intriguing. Go on." "The kids from the Isle of the Lost will probably be too intimidated to apply, unless they get encouragement from kids like them who are already doing well in Oridon." "Kids like us, you mean?" asked Evie, her mind whirling with ideas. "Exactly. Once they hear more about how you, Jay, Carlos, and Mal have grown at Ordon Prep, they'll be inspired to join you guys. Maybe it won't be so scary if they know they'll be welcomed here. You're right, said Evie, clapping her hands. So let's show them. I've got to find Carlos, Jay, and Mal. Evie ran from the room, excited to get started. She was halfway down the hall when she realized she'd forgotten something. Just as quickly, she ran back into her room and kissed Doug on the forehead. You're a prince, thank you. Just a dwarf, really, but I'll take it, he said, hugging her back.